Hey everyone, my name is Elijah, and this video is going to go over setting up your Revit file for your design project and also modeling the site around it. So as a very general but important tip, before you start building a model, it is important to set up your Revit file correctly. And in this video, we'll be doing just that. So in the first part, we'll be creating a project from our template file. And this assumes that your professor has provided you one. But if not, that's totally okay. I have the file in the video description below. We're going to be setting up views in our file, and then we're also going to be creating sheets for pinups. After we've done all that, we're going to go ahead and model our site using the Model in Place component feature. And yeah, so this video, I'm just going to kind of work under the assumption that you've done or are familiar a little bit with Revit. So you've done like maybe some of the Autodesk tutorials or made like a small project on the side. But yeah, so this sheet is kind of an example of what we'll be putting together. It's a little bit messy, but captures the essence of what we're going to do of setting up views and also modeling our site. So this is a 3D model that we'll compose in the video. But yeah, let's jump into it. All right, let's get started. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new project from a template that my professor gave me. So to create a new project, we're going to go hit New. I'm going to go to Browse, and then we're going to find that Revit template file that we got. So I saved it in my Interpretive Center folder. I just put in project information, and I'll put this file in the video if you guys don't have it. But we'll go ahead and press Open. And it's going to take a little while to open. So I'll just go ahead and speed up the video until it does. And then after it loads in, we're going to press OK. And cool. So in this template file, there are some drawings that are already in place for us, including this very messy drawing from a civil engineer that documents the site, as well as the farm office itself. So before we start modeling or anything, coming up with our design, we want to make sure to have a clean Revit file before doing all that. So what I'm going to do first is set up the views, and I'm going to structure it so there's like 2 ground floor plans, 2 second floor plans, a site plan, etc. And then we'll place them on sheets that can be easily printed every time someone asks for like a crit or project progress. So it seems like I've already copied a little bit over here, but let's say this is our second floor plan. Revit gives it to us and we want a second version of it. We're just going to right click it, click duplicate view, and then duplicate with detailing. Then after that, I'm going to rename it to just say second floor plan working. And this is where we're going to put all of our elements that we don't need to see in a presentation mode. Things like elevation markers, detail lines, reference lines, stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and rename these top views as well to be presentation, just so that I know that I should be graphically cleaning these up. Presentation, and then this presentation as well. I'm going to do the same thing with the site plan. So I'm actually going to right click this and duplicate it as well. And then I'll just title this working. Cool. There are already some views in place, like this east, northwest, and south elevation. And if we click into them, it kind of gives us a very zoomed out portion of our model, but we can go ahead and correct that later. And yeah, let's get started on placing some of our views on our sheets. So let's say you want to create a blank sheet that you can place your views on. I'm just going to go ahead and go to this View tab up here, click on Sheets, and we're actually going to load a new title block family. So to do that, in Revit versions of like 2025 or newer, there's this clever button in Insert that says Load Autodesk Family, and it loads it from the cloud. So like if you click on this button, it gives you a library of all the stuff that you can bring into your project. So let's say I want to import a title block. I'm just going to click on that, and then I want to grab 11 by 17. So now that is imported, we can go back into our View tab, press Sheet, and then click on this 11 by 17 title block here, and we can just load it in. So I don't really want to see the fluff, like all of this extra stuff down here. So I'm going to edit the title block fully by just double clicking it, and then just kind of deleting all of the extra elements here. So after we're done with that, I'm going to go ahead and click Load into Project and Close, and this puts our family back into our project. And I'm not going to save the changes either, since it's already in our project, and we're just going to overwrite it. So now we have a blank page. If you want to rename it, you can go back into the project browser here, go into Sheets, and then just retitle it to like P1 Pinup Board, just so we can keep track of our names. So to place a view on a Revit sheet, all we have to do is grab something like our ground floor plan, and then click and drag it into our sheet. Now, as you can see, it's very large, and we probably don't want to see everything within this. It's like too large to fit in the sheet. So we're going to go ahead and click on the view itself, and in the Properties tab, I'm going to change the scale to maybe about 1/30th of an inch, and just bring it into my sheet. Now, for floor plans, we just want to see like a very general area of the site. So what I'm actually going to do is make this thing called a scope box. And what we can do is, it's essentially like a crop box that you can apply to all your different views. And it saves you a lot of time from changing like the crop boxes of each individual view, but I'll go ahead and show that. So I'm going to go ahead to View here and click on Scope Box. And then I'm just going to click and drag into the general area that I want my interpretive center to be, which is the site itself here. And then I'm going to title the scope box Overall Building. And yeah. So now if we go back into our general view in Revit and scroll down to like Extents and click this scope box tab, we can click on the box that we just made, which is Overall Building, and it crops it down to this box. And now when I go back into my sheet, I can click on the view again, assign it a scope box, which is Overall Building, and there you go. And probably one thing you want to keep in mind is you only want your presentation views to be on the sheets, because the working views are just things where you put elements in. So I'm going to go ahead and put my ground floor plan there, assign my scope box, and then bring it into my sheet. I'm going to change the scale to about maybe a 1/16 of an inch, or maybe even, let's keep it to 1/30. And I'm going to drag it into my view here. I'm also going to click, you can directly adjust the view if you just click on the tab here. So I want to adjust my second floor plan presentation view to be like 1 inch equals 30 feet. And then I'll assign it the same scope box that I used, which is the overall building, and just drag it into my sheet. So there's our first and second floor plans. And now let's say we want to have another pinup board that has like elevations, one with site plans, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and just duplicate this sheet, duplicate an empty sheet, and I'm going to rename it to like P2 and title it pinup board site. And I'll put my presentation. Oh. One thing about Revit sheets is that you can't place the same view into two different sheets. So for example, my site plan presentation view is in this random unnamed sheet. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and delete this. And you can see that there's no blue box around the site plan. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag it in. Still very large, so I'm going to assign it to maybe 1/60th of an inch. And maybe even make another scope box, if I can find it, in my site plan that just shows like more of the overall site. So I'm just going to click on scope box here, drag like up to this general area, title my scope box site, and then assign my view. Cool. And let's say if you have too many tabs, you can just click this red inactive view button, and that closes all of your inactive views, makes it much more convenient to find what you're looking for. But anyways, we're going to go ahead into our sheet, and our site plan is nicely scaled. Let's say your viewport kind of looks like this, and it's very off the page. If you click on the viewport itself, you should be able to drag it to the general area. And you can even scale it back by clicking and dragging this line. Cool. So now that we have all of this set up, we're going to start modeling bits and pieces of our site that we can use for like rendering, diagrams, etc. And then we'll make sure to graphically clean everything up. Because right now, if I went into like a 3D view, it's just all kind of very messy. There's no like site geometry, and but yeah. So let's jump into it. All right. So to construct the to construct the site, we're going to use this tool called Model in Place Components, and use the reference lines from this site plan to create our geometry. So I'm actually going to go into my working ground floor plan here. And the reason why I'm doing it instead of the working site plan is because there's like a whole bunch of colors I don't want to deal with rather than here. So let's get started. Now, modeling the site might take opening up like Google Earth and having it open while you do it just to verify like, is this a road, is this ground cover, etc. But since I have it in the top of my head, I'll just kind of go off where I'm working with. So I'm going to create probably the site or the soil around my interpretive center. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this model in place component. It's asking us to assign it a family category. So I'm going to type in site, and it's going to be useful later. I'll show you, but we're going to press OK, and we're just going to title this site. So now there's a bunch of tools up here, but the only one you need to pay attention to is this extrusion tool. So if I click on it, it's kind of bring up this option here, as well as some things in the property tab like extrusion end, extrusion start, whether it's visible or not, and assigning it even a material. So there's a couple line tools you can use to construct like the outline of your shape, but I'm going to use this pick lines tool, and The reason why I'm doing it is because I can latch onto the existing site plan and work off there. So I'm just going to start clicking off into the side, and it's going to create this nice outline. Sometimes you might need to do a little bit of guesswork, maybe even just using the line tool to get it somewhat right. If you want to clean up your lines to make sure there's no gaps, you can use the trim tool, which is TR, and just kind of click both lines. And then I'm going to go ahead and construct my site up until maybe this point. And then after that, we have kind of the soil modeled. And I'm going to click this green button. Now if I go into my 3D view, you can see that we've created this geometry here. In this case, the ground cover is going above my ground level, but I want it to go below. So I'm going to adjust my extrusion end to actually be 0 feet, and then -1 feet. And that brings it down about a foot. I'm also going to assign it a material. So if we click on this material tab, I can type in soil. And I'm just going to title this site earth and click OK. And what that does for us is if I go into a different view mode, like consistent colors or the realistic tab, oh, I think I made a mistake doing that. You can see the color of the site. So I'm going to continue constructing the rest of my site by outlining the road, this animal barn here, and the green stuff. So just follow the steps that I did with this geometry, but I'm going to go ahead and press Create, Extrusion, then start picking the lines of the road. So I'm just going to unspeed this video to go over one of the errors that usually comes up when we're making model in place components. But it says lines cannot intersect each other. The highlighted lines currently intersect. So if I click on this show button, it's going to take me to the specific area where my lines aren't crossing. And it seems like it's these two. So you can kind of see there's a big overlap between the two. If I just use the trim tool, it should correct it. Oops. I have to close this one too. Kind of like that. And yeah, so that's our site. Go back into 3D view. This is going to be our road. I'm going to assign it the material of the road. Or let's do asphalt. Or concrete. I'm also going to adjust my asphalt so it's below grade, or just slightly above, so maybe like ½ an inch and -1 foot. Press OK. And then yeah, I'll model some of the greenery around. So just kind of look forward to that. So now that we have kind of our site modeled, I'm going to go ahead and model the existing buildings. And I'm actually just going to use this existing site here and just create an extrusion inside it. So there's a site plane here. The outlines of the buildings are kind of hard to see, but as long as you get like the general gist of it, should be okay. So how I did that was using the tab tool until I grabbed like a good portion of the existing drawing. So I have the outlines of my buildings, and then I'm just going to actually adjust the extrusion end so it reflects the actual height of the building. So maybe around 30 feet for this barn, maybe 20, or 18 feet. And then same for this too. And let's say I don't want to see these walls, but I still want to keep them in my model. What I would do is just click on these here, and then right click on them, and then hide in view by elements. And I'll kind of speed up myself doing that. All right, so now that we have those walls hidden, this is just a very clean 3D view where we can scroll around our site. And now we can go into our site plan presentation view and do some cleanup here as well. So I probably don't want to see this DWG anymore. So because if I click on it, it's saying it's an import, DWG import, and I just want to hide the entire thing. So I'm just going to click VV for visibility graphics, go into imported categories, and you can see the DWG is here. So I'm just going to unclick this, and then it hides it. So we have a much cleaner version of our site. And if you ever want to extend out your site to show more of the context around it, you can always just extend your lines here. Like so. Maybe we also want to have a 3D view of our site. So if I double click this, duplicate view, duplicate with detailing, and then just title it site presentation 3D. And I'm going to do the same cleanup I did earlier by using VV, visibility graphics, going into imported categories and hiding my DWG file. I also don't want to see some things like scope box or levels here. So I'm actually going to click on this, right click it, hide in view by category. And that hides everything of the same type. And then I'm going to hide my levels as well. So hide in view by category. I'm probably going to turn it into an axonometric mode and then just zoom into the general area of my site. Kind of like that is fine. Then after I have that, I'm just going to lock it in. And I can lock this view by going into this tab of tools here, clicking on this unlocked 3D view button, and do save orientation and lock view, if it'll let me. So now I'm going to go into my site board and import that site presentation 3D view into my sheet. It's quite large, so you can always change up the scale to like 1 inch equals 40 feet. Bring my triangle over here. And making my viewport much smaller and dragging it up here. For this one, I don't want to see my crop view, so I'm just going to activate this view and hide it, as well as the all this geometry here. I don't want to see it, so I'll just right-click it. And yeah. So now we kind of have a clean first step pinup board that you can use to display like the site you modeled. And yeah, so one thing we always want to make sure to do is save our file at the end. So I'm just going to hit Control S and save it to my correct folder. So I'll go into Interpretive Center here, probably click on BIM files, and then just title this Master Revit file, and then make sure to save it. But yeah. In the next video, we'll go over actually building up the Interpretive Center using walls, windows, roofs, etc., and building it on our site. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.